first half. Just the effort, sense of urgency. We talked about hitting first defensively and getting into their bodies and trying to fight through some pick and rolls and not having separation. And we wanted to attack, have that attack mentality offensively, and didn't have it in the first half for some reason. But it was good to see the fight in the third quarter and most of the fourth quarter. And, it takes a lot to come back when you're down 18. It takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of effort. You need some big shots to go down, and we did. And then they made another run, and that was really the separation. I thought our guys even finished with a nice little run as well. But, last game we talked about what are the teaching points and the lessons. I mean, that's it. It takes so much just to get back in the game. You can't put yourself in a hole. And tonight we put ourselves in a hole in the first half. When we were playing decent basketball, but we didn't have that sense of urgency to get to their shooters. We didn't have that sense of urgency on our closeouts against some of their guys, and that was the discouraging part early on.
In the fourth quarter, it was a stretch where they went on a shot barrage of threes.
Yeah.
Was it more of the rotation or?
No, I think the guys that were out there for a while, and we didn't have, I thought they felt us when we made the run. We hit a couple pick and roll, we blitzed a couple pick and rolls. The rotations, we were in the passing lanes, and we were able to get to their shooters and take them out of their shots. I think during that stretch, we got to a couple guys, but we didn't have the urgency to finish it off. Meaning, you get to a shooter, make them put it on the floor. We got to a shooter and put a hand up, and Trevor Ariza hits one right in front of our bench, and Kevin's standing right underneath him. You got to make him drive. Bogdanovich hits one at the end of the shot clock. You got to make him drive. So they got to comfort, and at that point they really got comfortable. So it didn't matter where we were; they were letting them fly.
What went into the decision to keep DeAndre Hunter on the bench for most of that third quarter?
I honestly didn't know if he was okay. We took him out, and I saw his shoulder go. And someone came and told me he was okay midway through, but the guys that were out there you just get lost with something's working finally, and don't change it. And so by the time I looked down and we needed a couple subs, that's when I finally recognized that we needed to get him back in there.
If you don't remember the play, you don't remember it because there's 100 plays that happened. But at the end of the third quarter, you're shooting free throws with like 12 seconds left, and then they came down and they got like a corner three that was wide open. I didn't understand what
We
quite
hit,
happened
so
there.
yeah, hit is it's a term we use to just it's speed them up and make someone else make a play, as opposed to you watch James Harden at the end of any quarter, he's going to shoot the basketball. The goal is whatever play they're going to run, whatever set they're going to run, you try and it's basically what we do. It looks like they're blitzes, they're really called hits. And so we hit the basketball, we just try and, but there's a rotation. You zone up behind and you rotate. And so Ty Wallace was at the top, and there was a shooter at the top and a shooter in the corner. And so he's got to take first pass, and we just didn't get the rotation. He's got to get first pass, and the next guy who's rotating out needs to take the second pass. When you hit, you're trying to get them to make extra passes as opposed to one guy sitting there and all of a sudden, like Bogdanovich did, he just raises up and shoots a three. Make them drive it, make them make a pass because it's open, and the time is your other defender.
Did Kevin Huerter look a little bit more
He looked
like
great
himself
tonight.
out there?
Yeah, he looked great. I thought even last game, he had two drives. He had an and one, and he had a layup where he initiated contact and he scored. And that, he only shot, I think, 57 free throws last year. That mentality of his to do that twice last game and then have a couple tonight is what's different with him right now. He's getting his legs back, but he's also playing with a different level of physicality. And so the three we know he can do, but for him to get in the paint, to absorb and initiate some contact, and to be able to go up and finish is what we're starting to see as he's getting his conditioning and his legs back. But it was, it was good. I think it's time that, I think he ended up with 30 minutes, which is right where his restriction is, but that's what we've been wanting to see, and that's why he's been on a restriction, is to let him get his legs comfortable and his body comfortable before we just completely throw him out there. And I think this is probably the time where we're going to see more. Hopefully there's nothing change, in how he feels tomorrow, but all of this is a result of just being patient.
Coach, Story scored 25 points tonight. What's your thoughts on his performance?
That's what he does. I mean, I say it jokingly, but you know, he's a professional scorer, and he knows it. And you know, he and Trey, they score differently. You know, we can just put the ball in Jabari's hands against anyone, and he'll find a way to get to the rim or get downhill and get in the paint. But that's what he does. And Trey, you know, is different. He has to do it in pick and roll. He can reject pick and roll screens and attack downhill. He can reject and pull up. He can use pick and rolls to facilitate for other guys. But they're professional scorers. They've done it at every level, and they've done it their entire careers.
Coach, kind of a slow night again in this game, shooting from beyond the arc, the three. What do you think that might be attributed to?
A lot of our shots are off the dribble, and you know, that's why it's encouraging to see Kevin get going a little bit. We knew coming into the season he'd be basically our secondary facilitator, and so when he can get downhill and we can put the ball in his hands a little bit more, he's going to create threes for other guys. But we're shooting threes off the dribble, and Trey does that. And when you know, Cam made one late off the dribble, and DeAndre is shooting some off the dribble, we want assisted threes, and we need guys that can get in the paint. That's why we keep talking about downhill. So we're getting threes. We're not getting the ones we want just yet, and that'll change. Good. Yeah. Okay.
Real quick, just you guys were switching a lot 1 through 5 tonight, or at least 2 through 5. How did you feel your big guys executed that system?
Okay, we switched early. Not as much with the 5. I think when Dwayne came in, we did a couple times, but he wasn't involved in as many pick and rolls as Rashawn Holmes was. And Bielishka flips out on all the pick and rolls, so it's hard to even switch with those. I think there was a stretch where we did, but not as much. We were blitzing. When Alex was out there and we made our run, we were in a lot of blitzing situations, and we hit the basketball a few times just to you know, create the energy and force some turnovers. But the switches were our normal switches, 2 through 4, and I think when Bogdanovich got going, it was just a normal switch. It really wasn't our bigs that were involved. It was our smalls that were involved, and he was able to create separation with our normal switch groups.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Yep.